I mean, you'd like to get it done within the first couple weeks of camp for sure. Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think you know who that is. If it goes into the third week of preseason camp, then then either they're both competing at a high level or nobody stepped up yet. So we'd like to have it within the second week of camp, but if not, then we'll just keep it going. You just don't know. You don't know what it's going to look like. Someone could step up a curve tomorrow, and you just don't know. So.
Do you adjust play call those first 6 games based on because where they are, or kind of ease your way into it, or do they have to know it?
Well, I think that is college football right there. Is if you just throw a playbook or you just throw a game plan out and just start calling plays, you're going to be disappointed. You have to figure out. Last year, we had a certain group of guys. The year before, we had a certain set of guys, and we had to make sure you play to those strengths. And that's the key, and experience at quarterback is going to be one of them moving forward.
Ryan, at middle linebacker, do you feel like you guys just need to pick one guy and go with him, or might you guys rotate? You mentioned middle linebacker earlier with Tuff and Taraja and Barron. Might you guys rotate, not necessarily series by series, but could you rotate a little bit at middle linebacker?
Yeah, I think when you look at what we did on offense last year, we rotated those guys a bunch, and they're all playing, not all, but a bunch of them are playing in the NFL now, and I think you can do that at all positions. I think it keeps you fresh. It helps you later on in the season, it helps you later on in the game. But they have to earn the spot. We're not just going to do it to do it. And if someone's, that much further ahead than the other guy, then they'll play more. But if they earn playing time, then they're going to play, and on special teams and on defense.
Specifically, Taraja, where's he at right now? What does he need to do better in your eyes to win that job or be in the mix for that job?
I think we'll know more coming out of preseason camp, but he's taken some strides. He did a great job on a scout team last year, had a good spring. I think he's still learning the defense and understanding, the diagnosing the plays and understanding, where to fit in his run stuff and where to go in the pass game. But he goes really hard. He's a leader out there, and he's tough.
When you have a quarterback like Justin who's come in and is surrounded by the hype he's been, do you view it as an important part of your job to help him manage those expectations, to make sure that the hype around him doesn't get too big before the season starts?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think that's part the position coach, as part of the coordinator, and part the head coach is understanding that, because I think that's really important for the quarterback to understand week in and week out what his role is, week in and week out how the game's going to be different, week in and week out how social media is handling everything, good, bad, or indifferent. One of the things we had to deal with last year with Dwayne was, it went from 0 to 60 so fast, and it was all positive. And how do you now, keep your expectations under control based on where he was at in his development at that point, or after the Iowa game 2 years ago, dealing with JT and social media there. Those are two, extreme situations. But I think counseling a quarterback, especially at that age in college, is critical week to week.
Ryan, we're talking about this competition for jobs and kind of thing. On defense, you guys have a lot of starters back, a lot of experienced guys back, but you have a lot of young players who might be ready to play.
Yep.
Is that a difficult decision if you have starters on defense where maybe you guys would come to a decision, we're better if this other guy plays and a starter is no longer a starter? How difficult is that as a new head coach?
I think it goes back to, the position coach and the conversations that are being had in that room. I think that if they understand that it is an open competition and the best players are going to play, then I don't think it's a hard conversation. I think if there's conversations that are had where, the understanding is you're the starter, and then all of a sudden, a week before the game, you say, hey, you're not starting, and this guy is, now you got a problem on your hands. And so I think constant communication about where they are in the depth chart is really important, especially in August. Not as much in the spring or bowl practice, because you're just out there learning your job. But as the depth chart starts to break out and you get closer there, I think communication is really, really important, because most guys they'll understand it if they're told, all along. It's when you start to surprise guys when they get upset.
Right. What are the indicators that you will be better on defense than a year ago? And what have you seen through spring and then the summer that tells you y'all will be better?
Well, I think we have good players. I think we have a good staff. I think we have a good scheme. And so when I go to bed at night, I think to myself, well, we should be pretty good. And I said it to the guys on the staff. I said, do you want a better D-line? Do you want a better secondary? Do you want better linebackers? I don't know if there's better players out there in the country. Maybe there are. I'd like to see them. And we have a really good staff and a really good scheme. So I go to bed thinking to myself, boy, we have to be pretty good on defense. And I think we will be. And is it going to be perfect? No, it's not going to be perfect. But we're going to have to solve the problems as they come, because they're going to come. And how quickly we can solve those problems, I think, will indicate what kind of defense we're going to be.
Brian, the last 3 years, you